Ever since August 31st, 2020, our tribal chief Roman Reigns has reigned supreme as the Universal Champion and really carried WWE, SmackDown especially, on his back. Now, this video is all about who should dethrone Roman Reigns. It's a question that all over the wrestling community is being posed right now. Reigns has been champion for nearly 300 days as of the making of this video, and as of right now, there is no clear single guy who is just right for the taking who should defeat and dethrone Roman Reigns. I want to make that clear from the offset of this video. There is no one individual who is like, oh, well, of course this one guy needs to and just should beat Roman Reigns. That guy doesn't exist. Okay, so that makes the conversation much more interesting. That presents a number of scenarios and makes this video really fun. Also, one thing I want to address, now, when it comes to WWE and wrestling in general, a lot of guys are better at chasing for a championship. A lot of guys, baby faces wise, are best at chasing the title. Even a lot of heels are better at gunning down the champion. Roman Reigns is one of those very rare guys whose character and just persona fits as the champion. Roman Reigns, he fits best as a champion. So, in that regard, I'll pose this question early in this video before I get into the scenarios. Where does Roman Reigns go after he loses this Universal Championship? After Roman's tribal chief run ends as Universal Champion on SmackDown, where does he go? What does he do? I'll just pose that question out there, do with that what you will. So, with that being said, now I'm going to go through a couple of scenarios as to how Roman Reigns could possibly lose the Universal Championship and end this reign. So, first off, this is a name I'm going to throw out here, Drew McIntyre. Now, is everyone going to be over the moon by me suggesting Drew McIntyre? Not at all, but to be fair, that's going to be the case with every name I suggest here. Drew McIntyre, I think the most realistic scenario for this to happen would be in the main event of WrestleMania 38. I think Drew McIntyre has been established well and truly as the number 2 guy, the number 2 biggest star of this era. So, with that being said, Drew McIntyre is already developed and established as a star to some extent. But you can always develop your star further. You can always do more to push your star further. And in this regard, having Drew McIntyre dethrone Roman Reigns in front of 60, 70, 80,000 people at WrestleMania 38, I think that'd be a pretty damn good way of doing it. I think having Drew McIntyre have his true moment in front of fans, and a moment that would be remembered for, decades and decades. Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, these are the 2 biggest stars of our generation as far as WWE. These are the 2 guys from the supposed reality era who are the flag bearers, the torch carriers. These are the 2 guys who run the shows, so to speak. So when you have Drew McIntyre telling the story of, I need to finally overcome Roman Reigns. I've never overcome Roman Reigns. I've never beaten Roman Reigns clean one-on-one. I've never beaten him at Survivor Series 2020. Roman Reigns beat me. At WrestleMania, I'm going to overcome the man who no one's beaten in 500 odd days. I'm going to beat him at WrestleMania and become champion. I think the story would be really damn cool. I think it would be a legitimate, really good way of, one, taking Drew McIntyre from a established star to a, real legit superstar. I think this would be the perfect way of doing it. So, that's my first option. What do you guys think of that? Do you guys think Drew McIntyre overcoming Roman Reigns and hitting probably 3 Claymore kicks in the main event of WrestleMania 38, 1, 2, 3, crowd goes crazy, McIntyre overcomes Reigns. Do you guys think that would be a good way of doing it? I think as far as legitimate, realistic scenarios that can generate a positive reaction for the company and a positive net gain for the company, I think that's a pretty good way of going. That's just me thinking. So that's the first option. Now, the next option isn't as good as far as elevating and making a present day, current day, full-time star. But as far as a moment, as far as a way you can dethrone the tribal chief Roman Reigns, I think this scenario I'm about to present is really damn good. So, for this scenario, Adam Copeland, Edge, wins the 2021 Money in the Bank briefcase. Then, at SummerSlam, we get Roman Reigns versus John Cena. Reigns and Cena's a dream match. It really is. Tribal Chief Reigns versus a returning Cena. That'd be sick. We get it at SummerSlam. At SummerSlam, Roman Reigns defeats John Cena. You heard me right. Roman Reigns defeats John Cena and retains the title. It's a grueling match. Reigns overcomes Cena. After the match at SummerSlam, Edge's music hits. Edge rushes down, cashes in on a down-and-out Roman Reigns, spears him a couple times. 1, 2, 3. Now, before you jump in and say, well, if you're going to just have Edge win, why didn't he win at WrestleMania? That makes no sense. Edge cashing in on Roman Reigns. Breathe. Calm down. The thinking with this one is that Adam Copeland, Edge, couldn't beat Roman Reigns clean. So he had to rely upon his ultimate opportunist persona. He had to be the ultimate opportunist that, made him famous. He had to harness that in order to beat Roman Reigns and take the title off him. Because when Edge faces Reigns one-on-one, face-to-face, he got stacked and he got pinned. But when he faces him as the ultimate opportunist and he has to sneak out a win after a grueling match Reigns has just had, that way Edge can take the title off Reigns. Now, is that the greatest possible scenario? No. But positives of this situation, Edge cashes in, he cashes in a Money in the Bank briefcase, so you get a bit of nostalgia there. We get the big moment to close SummerSlam, the really shocking moment of Edge cashing in Money in the Bank, Reigns getting dethroned, the crowd going crazy because Edge wins the world title. It'd be pretty sick. Edge has a sick moment in front of fans. It's shocking. It's memorable. Reigns can then be pissed, and then you can build up to Reigns and Edge inside of, I guess, either Hell in a Cell, or you can do something to where Reigns and Edge have another rematch down the line. So that's that situation. Now, moving on to other ones. The Usos are worth mentioning. They are realistic threats as far as people who can dethrone Roman Reigns. However, let's be real with each other. These are the Usos. These aren't, this is the tag team, the Usos. Jimmy and Jay Uso. Do you really think either of these guys should realistically be the ones to dethrone this long reign of Roman? No. Could they? Absolutely. Could we see Jimmy Uso maybe win Money in the Bank and cash in on Roman Reigns down the line? Potentially. Could we see Jay Uso finally snap in a few months from now, go on just a warpath, destroy Roman Reigns, and pin him and beat him in a clean one-on-one match to end the year-long reign of Roman? We could say that. But would that be a bit disappointing? Would you be thrilled if Roman Reigns' year-plus-long reign ends with Jay Uso as the one to beat him? I mean, from a storytelling perspective, it's brilliant. Having Jay Uso be the one to beat Reigns. But at the end of the day, let's be honest with ourselves. It would be a bit of an anticlimax. It's Jay Uso. It's not Drew McIntyre. It's not a big breakout star who we've barely seen in a singles capacity. I just don't know. So Jimmy and Jay Uso, they're realistic options. They're options that are worth mentioning. But realistically speaking, I just don't think they're the absolute greatest possible options as far as who should beat Roman Reigns and become Universal Champion. So that's worth mentioning. Now, I'm going to mention an option which WWE realistically are probably going to do. I mean, knowing Vince McMahon, this is probably the number one option. When Brock Lesnar returns eventually, Brock Lesnar goes after Roman Reigns. We get that whole Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns dynamic where they're having the whole feud based around Paul Heyman. Lesnar wants to win back the Universal Championship that he was really the face of for the first few years of the belt. They have the whole dynamic with Paul Heyman. Lesnar beats Reigns at maybe a WrestleMania, maybe a SummerSlam. That's an option. Personally, am I keen on seeing that? No. When I pitch that, when I say that out loud, I'm hardly jumping for joy. I'm hardly ecstatic about that one. Maybe some of you really want to see Brock Lesnar end the year-plus-long reign of the Tribal Chief. Maybe you do. And that's totally fair enough. But personally, I don't love that idea. Then the final option, which this is probably one of the least popular options, but I'm throwing out realistic options, okay? This one might be unpopular, but this is WWE, and as a result, this is a realistic option. So this option is Bill Goldberg at a Saudi Showdown show. And I can hear the outrage now. I can hear the flaming keyboard fingers of doom. I can hear the raging, the vitriol. I can hear it, don't worry. But let's be realistic here. This is Bill Goldberg. This is WWE. Now, would WWE have a 55-year-old Goldberg be the one to dethrone the face of the company? Not really. Do I think that Vince McMahon holds Roman Reigns in a better light than he does Bray Wyatt and Kevin Owens? Yes. So this option is a bit more unlikely, but it's still somewhat realistic. Now, that's that option. Now to close, I'll present some options which I can see people giving down below, and their options. I can see you guys in the comments suggesting these, but these, I don't think these are good ideas. So, first off, Cesaro, just no, okay? That guy is a world champion, is not ready. He's quite simply has microphone-itis, and without a manager like Paul Heyman, is not ready to carry the company. The only way Cesaro wins is if Paul Heyman kicks Reigns in the nuts, turns on him, realigns with Cesaro, and we do a callback to 2014. That is the only way I see them doing that. So, that's Cesaro. Shinsuke Nakamura. I've seen this one on wrestling Twitter predominantly. Nakamura beating Reigns would be a terrible idea. Having Reigns versus Nakamura at a pay-per-view like Extreme Rules in October, okay, cool, fine, what have you. But having Shinsuke Nakamura be the guy to dethrone Reigns, this is a 40 to 41-year-old Shinsuke Nakamura. Just no. Please stop. So, that's that one. Then, Aleister Black, I'll throw this name out there because some people on Twitter seem to love him. Should Aleister Black dethrone Reigns? Just no. Aleister Black's a good mid-carder, nothing more. Then, Adam Cole. I've seen a couple people suggest Adam Cole. You think our tribal god, Roman Reigns, should lose the Universal Championship and be dethroned by the GameStop employee down the road, Adam Cole? Yeah, nah, missed me with that. Then, the last one, or the last two I want to mention, these two I need to address because I'm sure they'll come up. First one, Big E. Big E should be one of the main threats to dethrone Roman Reigns. But the fact of the matter is, he is too goofy. Big E, as his presently constructed self, the presently constructed babyface Big E, is way too damn goofy to dethrone the tribal god. That is just a simple fact of life. I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. So, Big E, as this current version of himself, is just not the guy. And lastly, Keith Lee. Keith Lee and Roman Reigns had an infamous face-off at Survivor Series 2019, so there is history there. If Keith Lee is brought back and established and built up perfectly for like 6 to 9 months, maybe he could beat Roman Reigns. But the fact of the matter is, it's just not realistic when Keith Lee is either not on TV or he's just a run-of-the-mill mid-carder on Raw. So that's going to be the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. This has been Who Should Dethrone Roman Reigns. Leave down below who you think. This is a fun discussion. It really is. The discussion's going to blaze for months and months. So that's been the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, like, comment, subscribe, and drill. See ya.